Voting is a civic duty. Let's register on the electoral list. This is a message from Equinoxe Television.
Good evening to all of you faithful viewers of Equinoxe Television. It's time for the news in the English language tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Our major stars this evening. A renowned political analyst and commentator, Jean-Pierre Bekolo, has argued that Professor Maurice Kamto's bold move in Cameroon's politics marks the beginning of an era of courage where individuals will have to choose between silence and standing up for their beliefs. Bekolo believes that Professor Kamto's actions, though not flashy, demonstrate remarkable bravery in breaking away from the status quo and confronting power in the country, inspiring others to follow suit. We will be telling you more about Professor Bekolo's stance. That will be in this edition of the news. And also, we will be analyzing the recent and frequent outings of President Paul Biya via his Twitter page, where the sudden constant communication through social media and what impact can that have in the running of the country. We attempt answers still in this news edition. Viewers, those are our lead stories. Details when we come back. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for the confidence. We begin by talking insecurity in Cameroon, especially in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, where some bandits were arrested by security forces and were presented to the public in Yaoundé. Sumanji Gabriel tells us more in this report.
17-year-old Musa, a final year student in a private college based in Yaoundé, called the attention of all at the Territorial Gendarmerie Brigade in Singa during their presentation by gendarme officers. It is alleged Musa was supposed to be writing the baccalaureate exam but finally decided to invest in drugs. Musa and friend were picked up by gendarmes having Indian hemp as well as different flavors of shisha. The officers also seized numerous SIM cards which they used in fraudulent activities.
People from Korea and Chinga here with a lot of baggage of drug and a lot of SIM cards. So we are going to continue to track them and to arrest them so that we can send them to the military court or to the judiciary authorities.
Not far from the Territorial Gendarmerie Brigade of Singa at Carrière, it was another group of more than 6 arrested by gendarmes. They have been accused of not only consuming marijuana but also engaged in its sale as well as harassing innocent citizens around their zone. The two sets which were arrested have similarities, and gendarme officers say they will not give up.
The particularity is that we are seeing them in the triangle between Briqueterie, Chinga and Carrière, so that we are going to increase patrol there so that to arrest all those dealers who are continuing running in the town. But they will not run for a very long time.
The capture of the 10 young men falls in line with Operation Clean the Capital City, launched before the celebrations of the National Day.
And now in politics, we continue talking about the controversy over Professor Maurice Kamto's candidacy ahead of this year's election. A renowned political analyst and commentator, Jean-Pierre Bekolo, has argued that Professor Maurice Kamto's bold move in Cameroon's politics marks the beginning of an era of courage where individuals will have to choose between silence and standing for what they believe in. Bekolo believes that Kamto's actions, though not necessarily flashy, demonstrate remarkable bravery in breaking away from the status quo and confronting power in Cameroon while inspiring others to follow suit. For me, Armstrong Sander reports.
In a thought-provoking analysis, renowned commentator Jean-Pierre Bekolo has declared that Cameroon's politics has entered a new era of courage marked by individuals daring to challenge the status quo. According to Bekolo, Maurice Kamto a former minister and respected lawyer, has been a trailblazer in this regard, breaking away from the traditional mode of aligning oneself with authorities. Bekolo argues that for decades, Cameroon's politics has been characterized by conformity with individuals expected to fall in line with the government, leader, and party. However, Kamto's bold move has shattered this reality, paving the way for others to follow suit. The era of political courage in Cameroon begins, Bekolo declares. Bekolo praises Kamto's courage, noting that the former minister's action have not only demonstrated bravery but also inspired others to re-evaluate their own stance. Kamto bothers them because he dared to do what they perhaps dreamt of doing but never found the strength. Bekolo observes. According to Bekolo, Cameroon's future will depend on the emergence of more courageous individuals who are willing to challenge the system and propose new ideas. The Cameroon that is coming will not only need new ideas, it will need courage from the system, he emphasizes. As Cameroon's political landscape continues to evolve, Bekolo's analysis offers a fresh perspective on the role of courage in shaping the country's future.
For me, I'm Transanda reporting, and to something else. Cameroon's Minister of Transport, Jean-Ernest Masseni Ngala Bibehe, has given transporters until June the 2nd to get legal by procuring the security identification badge. Clandestine public transport drivers after these dates will be haunted somehow by law enforcement officers. The aim is to organize, secure the public transport sector in Cameroon, as Innocent Azet tells us in the report which comes up next.
After a 3-month period of grace granted to public transporters by the Minister of Transport to comply and adhere to the required road safety measures, the time for leniency and awareness raising is over. As of Monday, June 2nd, 2025, all drivers of public transport vehicles operating in urban, peri-urban or rural areas will be required to put on a security identification badge. This is contained in a press release dated May 26, 2025, signed by the Minister of Transport, Jean-Ernest Massena Bibehe. This decision comes amid the uncontrolled proliferation of transport operators, particularly commercial motorbike riders and public transporters. Majority operate outside the legal framework, particularly with regards to identification. Backed by Decree number 2022/8802 of October 10, 2022, this measure aims to organize, secure and professionalize the public transport sector in Cameroon. It is therefore stated that as of June 2nd, any unidentified driver will be considered clandestine and the strict sanctions will be applied by law enforcement officials and agents from the Ministry of Transport. The minister calls on professionals in the sector to demonstrate civic responsibility and urges leaders of socio-professional organizations to redouble their efforts in raising awareness. From now on, the security identification badge will be the mandatory key for any driver wishing to work legally.
And now in health, let's talk more about the prevalence of poliomyelitis in Cameroon. Despite being certified free of wild polio virus in June 2020, Cameroon remains one of the countries in the Lake Chad Basin threatened by poliomyelitis type 2. Polio, a highly contagious disease primarily transmitted through person-to-person contact via the fecal-oral route, has been affecting children. And to combat this, the second phase of the poliomyelitis type 2 vaccination campaign was launched today in Douala, precisely in the Douala 4 subdivision, by the governor of the Littoral region. Lucy Liengu is here. Roste.
To further strengthen immunity and curb transmission of the poliomyelitis type 2 virus, the second phase of the synchronized polio vaccination campaign has been launched in Douala.
La lutte contre cette épidémie, nous avons donc lancé ce deuxième tour qui est couplé avec la SASNIM, où il faut supplémenter les enfants.
The campaign was initiated by the governor of the Littoral region, Samuel Dieudonné Vahadiboua, in Bonasama Douala 4 subdivision, and targets children aged 0 to 5.
The objective is to immunize 100% of children under 5 and also to immunize 100% of all the children and those below 9.
Vaccinations will be administered in homes, schools, markets, and other public places.
So we are also killing 2 birds with 1 stone. One key intervention is to supplement with vitamin A and also to give malaria tablet to pregnant women to prevent abortions and low birth weight for children.
Preventing polio is crucial as the disease can lead to flu-like symptoms, brain inflammation, and paralysis. To avoid these, parents are actively involved.
It's a campaign for vaccine. That is why the governor has come to call us to come and vaccinate the children, and the children have received their vaccines. We are happy for that.
This campaign marks a significant milestone in the fight against poliomyelitis type 2, which continues to threaten millions of children across Cameroon, Chad, Nigeria, and Niger.
Since 2022, Cameroon has been declared free of polio. But now we have been coming across some cases of derived poliovirus from immunization and in some areas of Cameroon.
Phase 2 of the polio type 2 vaccination campaign is scheduled from May 29 to 1st of June 2025, following the first phase that ran from April 21st to 27, 2025 across Cameroon.
And now, before we move on to sports, let's come back to this sad road accident which happened in the northwest region, precisely at Up Station, and cost the life of Colonel Ngema Etienne. That was last night. The accident, he died during the accident following the collision of 2 vehicles, like we said, that was at Up Station in Bamenda. Bruce Teller now tells us more.
According to eyewitnesses, the fatal crash occurred shortly after 3 p.m. Colonel Zambo Ngema Etienne Celestin, Legion Commander for the Northwest Region, was on his way to attend to a private matter when tragedy struck. Local sources say a heavy-duty truck reportedly transporting peanuts and soybeans was moving at a high speed in the same direction as the colonel's vehicle. The truck, believed to have lost control, rammed violently into the colonel's car, crushing it completely. Inside the vehicle at the time were Colonel Zambo, his driver, and his bodyguard. Eyewitnesses say the 2 aides survived the crash with injuries and were rushed to the hospital, but Colonel Zambo did not make it. Also caught in the chaos was a young garage apprentice who, in an attempt to escape, suffered a leg injury. He was rushed to the hospital and his current condition is yet to be known, but other apprentices say the food was almost cut off. The news of Colonel Zambo's death was received with shock across the Northwest region. He was widely respected for his leadership, discipline, and dedication to duty. Appointed on March 12, 2024 as the Legion Commander of the Northwest Gendarmerie, he is said to have played a key role in maintaining order across the region. Ironically, the colonel had just taken part in a meeting with Transporters Syndicate, a discussion centered on improving road safety and strengthening collaboration between drivers and security forces. By nightfall, the situation at the crash site turned chaotic once again, this time not from traffic but from looting. Residents descended on the truck, making away with the cargo of peanuts and soybeans despite the earlier tragedy.
Sad indeed. May his soul rest in peace, and we extend our sincere condolences to the bereaved family. Now, over to news out of Cameroon. The official opening ceremony of the National Dialogue in Senegal was launched today, Wednesday, May 28, at the Abdou Diop International Conference Center, with main objective to examine the country's political system. In his inaugural speech, Cheikh Gueye, the facilitator of the National Dialogue, called for self-improvement and national unity, as well as emphasizing that the initiative aims to serve the greater good of the Senegalese people as a whole. And elsewhere, Pope Leo XIV recently received Cameroon's footballer Sambo Anguissa and his team after their victory against the Sodeto. Details of those stories and more on our foreign page roundup with Malaglory.
The National Dialogue has officially been launched in Dakar, Senegal, this Wednesday on political reform, an initiative put in place by President Bassirou Diomaye Faye. The dialogue brings together political actors, civil society, and experts to examine flaws in the country's political system. However, several opposition groups have boycotted the talks, raising concern about inclusivity and consensus building in the reform process. Still in Senegal, students of Cheikh Anta Diop University recently carried out a peaceful protest demanding Israeli Ambassador Yuval Wax to leave campus, intensify Senegal's condemnation of Israel genocide in Gaza. He was invited to speak on international relations at Senegal's first university. In a video circulating on social media, students were seen waving Palestinian flags and chanting slogans like "Free Palestine," "Israel is a war criminal." Meantime, neither the Israeli embassy in Dakar nor Senegal's foreign minister has commented on the protest. And elsewhere, the Embassy of Ghana in Washington, D.C. is expected to reopen on Thursday, May 29, 2025, resuming full consular services after a temporary closure to a major corruption scandal. It was shut down on May 26 as part of a restructuring and systems repaired after uncovering an IT breach which allowed a staff member to redirect applicants in a fraudulent scheme for personal benefits. And elsewhere, Zamboan Gisa and his Napoli teammates were received on Tuesday by Polio XIV, a few days after winning the Scudetto. It was an exciting moment and great privilege for these footballers to meet the new Pope, a blessing and honor of being received by His Holiness Pope Leo XIV in a mass that will remain engraved in the hearts of the Blues.
Now over to this obituary in sports. The tennis family in Cameroon and the world beyond is mourning the sudden death of Joseph Oyebok. Joseph Oyebok was the promoter of the Oyebok Tennis Academy in Susa in the Mungo division of the Littoral. According to sources, he died early today, that was Wednesday, at the Muna Clinic in Bonanjo here in Douala after being sick for some days. Our reporter Cedric Chakutu tells us more.
Cameroon, Africa and the global tennis community mourn the loss of a passionate and a mentor to thousands of children and a trailblazer who dedicated his life to the development and popularization of tennis. Joseph Oyebok, promoter of the Oyebok Tennis Academy, is no more. The deceased died on the 28th of May at the clinic here in Douala. Born and raised in Bota, Limbe, southwest region of the country, Oyebok Joseph discovered his calling early on the local dusty courts, trained by the iconic Maurice Happy, former National Technical Director of Cameroon. He quickly rose through the ranks to become a key player for Cameroon's national team and the Davis Cup squad. Over 3 decades ago, he founded the Oyebok Tennis Academy, which through his leadership, the unyielding support of his family and dedicated partners, has grown into one of the most respected tennis academies on the African continent. He will forever remain the father of modern Cameroonian tennis and one of the greatest architects of African tennis. May his soul rest in peace, and also our sincere condolences to his family. And viewers, that does it for the first part of the news. Let's now move on to talking points. Welcome back, viewers. Our guest tonight is MOSOKE Lucas. He is a civil society actor, and we will be talking about the recent outings of President Paul Biya through his Twitter handle. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting to be our guest on Talking Point tonight. Now, recently, President Paul Biya, I earlier indicated, has been speaking to Cameroonians via his Twitter handle. Almost every day at 10 a.m., there is a message from the head of state to his compatriots. Now, how can we describe this most recent mode of communication by President Paul Biya with the use of only social media?
Good evening, I'm Abdullah. I'm once more happy to be at Talking Point at Equinoxe. The recent outings of the president is normal because he knows that the youth and most Cameroonians are found on social media today, Twitter, and you can name all the other social media handles. So the head of state thinks that by coming out through social media, he'll be able to get to most Cameroonians who are connected and interacting through social media. So I think that the strategy to go through social media is very important. And you all know that most Cameroonians are on social media. And through social media, you reach out to so many Cameroonians, millions of Cameroonians at home and abroad, because we know that there are Cameroonians at home and abroad, whereby if you go through television, radio, you may not get those abroad. So talking to Cameroonians at home and abroad is better you go through social media. So I think that the recent outing of the president through social media is because he wished to get to Cameroonians at home and abroad. And I think that many Cameroonians have been able to get his message through social media. And I think that's why he's making news all over Cameroon and worldwide today. So the president is using what is favorable and what is very, very relevant today in the world in which we live. So ICTs, the media, the social media is actually where things are happening today. So I think that's why the president chose to go through social media. Thank you.
Now, MOSOKE, we know it has always been difficult for President Paul Biya to grant interviews or even address Cameroonians, even when there are burning issues in the country. Besides the Youth Day Eve and end of year, that is on the 31st of December, why do you think the president prefers to communicate through Twitter?
Yeah, I think that all of us know that this is an election year. It's a year of presidential elections, and the president prefers, and I think he desires to reach out to Cameroonians through Twitter. He could use other social media platforms to reach out to Cameroonians. And, you know, he also wished to express himself so as to let Cameroonians know that he is still very active to also be part of the journey of democracy. You know, democracy started with the President of the Republic, President Paul Biya, but nevertheless, we have not actually grown in our democracy. We are still actually limping in the democratic process, and we know that with time, things will be better. But I think that getting to Cameroonians through social media, when he hardly addressed Cameroonians, I think it's simply because he wants to make his presence felt by Cameroonians in this elective year, whereby every leader wished to be known and every leader wished to be heard. So I think he may come up many times, many more times, in order to make his presence felt by Cameroonians at home and abroad. And you know that Cameroonians now can vote at home and abroad. And I think that the President of the Republic thinks it's better for him to be able to come up frequently now to talk to Cameroonians, even though Cameroonians are the ones that have the right to make their choice, because you have many candidates that are going to stand at the presidential election. Cameroonians have the right to make their choice after maybe evaluating what the president has done for these years and see whether he is still fit to lead Cameroon. So this one is at the discretion of the voters and the Cameroonians that are going to vote. So I think that it might also be a campaign strategy by the president to make Cameroonians to know that he is still active and wish to still continue maybe in leading the country. So I think using Twitter, using other social media handles is very, very important because it reaches out to many, many more Cameroonians at home and abroad. So I think that it's a positive platform, a platform that covers many more countries in the globe, nationally and internationally. Thank you so much.
And now, with these recent outings, is this an indirect or why not direct way of President Paul Biya using these outings to announce his candidacy, Mr. MOSOKE?
I think that I don't wish to look at it as an indirect way of announcing his candidacy to Cameroonians. President Biya have always made it clear that he is there to lead Cameroon, and he has not yet said that he will not be a presidential candidate. So Cameroonians still expect and hope that he will likely still be the candidate because he's a natural candidate of the CPDM, and they don't yet have another candidate. So we all know that President Biya is a natural candidate for the CPDM. So he coming out to talk to Cameroonians, I think that it's just to let them know that he's still there and he's still alive and he's still strong and he's still very ready to stand and to lead Cameroonians. I've not for once thought that President Biya would not be the candidate of the CPDM, because we are just a few months to the election. The CPDM has not presented another candidate, which means that their natural candidate, President Biya, is likely still going to be their candidate. So I think that President Biya, being their natural candidate.
And now let's talk about some of the contents of President Biya's message through his Twitter handle. When we go through the president's Twitter page, we notice that most of the messages center on peace building and freedom of expression in Cameroon. He says Cameroonians should feel free to stay in the country and express themselves than talking from the diaspora or from out of the country. In another recent tweet, he said we should work together for peace building. Do those messages not sharply contrast the reality on the ground in Cameroon, Mr. Lucas?
First of all, we need to be very realistic to the fact that we are in a crisis situation in Cameroon, both the northwest and the southwest, and even the northern part of Cameroon. And we know many people have been imprisoned because of the situation on the ground. We even know about the Naira 10 that were arrested in Nigeria and are in jail. We know many other people that are in jail. So it has made many Cameroonians to run away from the country, to leave the country, and they prefer to be speaking from far, because they know that speaking from within may be very, very risky for them. And if President Biya is talking about peace and talking about peace building, I think that Cameroon is no longer that country that was a peaceful country. We are in war, especially in the northwest and southwest. And many people have lost their lives. So it's risky for people to talk anyhow. We want to talk about peace building when there is war. I think that the first thing would have been to put an end to the war, so that after the end of the war now, we can start talking about peace building. You cannot be building peace in a war. And I also think that the major problem which we are facing today is the problem of injustice. There's a lot of injustice, and people wish to have justice. The issue is not peace. The issue is justice. When there is justice, when there is fairness, peace will automatically come. But I wish to say that the government have to take the bull by the horn to bring this war to an end, to bring this serious crisis, this armed conflict to an end, so that Cameroonians will be able to sit on the table to talk about peace, to dialogue together, and to be able to push this nation forward. We are in a chaotic situation, and you cannot ask people not to speak from afar. They are speaking from afar because of fear and the risk that is involved in speaking from within. Many people who have spoken from within have been arrested, and they are facing serious persecution in jails today. So I just wish to say that the atmosphere and the environment is not friendly enough for people to easily express themselves in very sensitive issues. That is why people think that from afar off, they can express themselves, and they are safer. They may not be able to be arrested because they are far off, and nothing can happen to them because they are far off. So I just wish to say that Cameroonians need a change. Cameroonians needs a peaceful environment. But this peaceful environment can only come when the government will successfully bring these wars to an end, and Cameroonians will then talk about peace in a dialogue table. But any other word to ask Cameroonians to come home to talk from within is very risky. And I also wish to say that President Biya, for a long time, has been doing a lot for Cameroonians. But during this period of this war, we know a lot of people have been victimized. A lot of people have run away from the country. And a lot of people are facing a lot of challenges with respect to the fact that they wanted to express themselves freely, but their freedom of expression landed them to other things. So I just wish to say that the freedom of expression is not there, especially in very sensitive issues, and speaking the truth is very, very difficult in our context. Thank you so much.
That was Frank Talk there, Mr. MOSOKE Lucas. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting to be our guest tonight on the news, and hope to have you some other time. Viewers, thank you so much for being with us. That was what we put together this evening for the news on Equinoxe Television that was at 6 p.m. The next edition comes up at 8 p.m. That will be in the French language with Irish Ngonomala. And Equinoxe comes up in 30 minutes with Sayalangu. To stay with us on Equinoxe Television. And see you again tomorrow, same time, God willing. Bye-bye for now.